Welcome everyone. This is our Tuesday night training, a few minutes later than usual, but we literally just checked into a new place in the Gold Coast. We've been here for a week already, traveling all over the place. We've gone to the zoo, seen my gran, done all the fun family things, but we had some pretty rubbish weather for the beginning part, so we decided last minute to extend our stay. We told our kids about it basically when we rocked up to this place. They thought we were about to go to the airport. So anyway, having loads of fun over here, loads of sun, got a bit of sunburn, but the weather here is a lot better than Auckland, especially for the next few days. So we thought we'd stick around and enjoy some more sun. We just had an amazing dinner at the surf club across the road. This place is on the beach. So all of the Aussies in the team, guys, like massive shout out to all of our Aussies in here because you guys have an amazing country. We've been having a blast. But tonight, Dad has got a training ready to rock and roll for all of us. So I'm not going to talk anymore. I'm going to hand the screen over to him. And then without further ado, we'll rip into the evening. But otherwise, so good to have so many on with us live. And I know a bunch of you are going to be watching this recording later. So in the meantime, I'm going to pin you, Dad, which you're still impersonating my Zoom account. So I can see you there.
I'll need it for the my name on Friday, probably.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
For the live analysis. Let's just see if I can share my screen. We'll jump straight in.
Well, one of us has to give you permission. I'll allow you at this particular point in time. I just had to allow you, but that'll do. I'll mute myself and get myself out the way. Guys, drop some love in the chat for Dad. Let's rock and roll.
Let's just see if I can share my screen. Here we go. I don't know what it's going to share. So let's just click share and see what happens. There we go. It looks all good. Oh, here we go. So let's jump in. So seems ages since we last connected like this. Around a Tuesday evening training. I was in Taiwan and nice 34 degrees heat, and now I'm back in Auckland winter, but the heat did me good. I'm feeling way better. I was like sick for months, so I think the summer was good for me. So look, we're starting a bit later, so we're going to jump straight in. So tonight really is about price forecasting. You know, that's the advantage of when you learn to trade. You can actually work out where price is going. I mean, just this week my wife and I were talking about we need to buy more Bitcoin. I could just go on the charts. Maybe you'll look at that at the end and to work out, is it a good time to buy Bitcoin? I took one look, well, more than one look. I looked at the 1 day, the 4 hour, and I said, it's pulling back. Let's hang in before we buy a little bit more Bitcoin. And so when you learn the tools of trading and you learn to read charts, you can actually work out where price is going. And so I'm going to talk about that tonight. I'm mainly going to look at the daily chart. So I'm going to fly through. At the moment, we're looking at the US 30. We're going to look at that's the Dow, also the NAS, and maybe gold and the Nikkei, and then maybe Bitcoin too. So I'll maybe spend 10 minutes on each chart, just showing you how easy it is to work out where price is going. And then hopefully we'll all learn something. So hopefully the goal of today is at the end, you should be able to forecast yourself to work out where price is going. So we're going to use a few tools. So I'm mainly looking at the 1 day. I mean, if you took one glance, I mean, any someone who's not a trader could work out we definitely are in an uptrend. And so the first thing I like to do to do some price forecasting is I first like to do some trend lines. And so, there's more than one way to draw a trend line, but the way I would draw, so in this case, I would start at this bottom here, and then you look for where it's still relevant. If we had drawn it over there, you can see that's already now irrelevant because we've broken that trend line. So I would tend to look for a few places that it can touch. So if we drew it over here, there's an awesome trend line there, a good support trend line. So what you can see is actually amazing. What I've learned in trading is this trend line really was generated all the way from April. Look there, those 2 days, those 2 weeks over there basically predicted this trend line. So from April, we can now find, look how relevant it is in August. We're right here in August. And for the last 3 weeks of August, this trend line has been proving support that really was generated by these 2 weeks way back there. We also like to look, so we're not drawing all the lines like we do on the 1 day and the 4 hour. We're mainly focusing just on forecasting. Then there are a number of ways we could draw some trend lines here. Let's see if I like it when we can draw some kind of channel. So I would mess around a bit. We could come back there, all the way back there. I mean, that's not a bad point. So, and if we just go to the top, so there we go. So there we got a channel. So that's the first thing we're looking at. So price is definitely in an uptrend. Where is it going? It's heading up. So we can see there's been some respect there. I mean, we could do the channel tool. It wouldn't work too well right now, but if you drew a line through the middle too, you'd often find, just taking a random middle line, you can often see, there's a lot of support breaking that middle line of the channel. So we can see the first thing we do then is draw some trend lines. Then the other way we can work out where price is going. So again, obviously there's been a lot of support. So basically from the 1st of August, we're now here on that was the 22nd. For 3 weeks, price has been supporting this trend line. Then next, I would draw a fib. So for fibs, we're just looking for, a low and a high and a pullback. This looks like a good place for a fib right over here. So we turn on our fib tool and we can see that can help us predict a bit more where price is going. So I've got it on 2 just to highlight it, and we can see here's my favorite fib number, the 236. We can see how when price broke through 0, went up to the 302, a lot of support along the 236, broke that. And we can see right now, let's have a look here. We pulled back the golden ratio. The 618 is huge for support too, or resistance, depending which way the trend's going. So we can see price came down to the support trend line, and also it hit the 618. So that would have been also huge for support. We broke through the 786, and so we can see price definitely heading up. So what else could we draw? What I've done, I've just separated the Camarilla. I've taken it out of the indicator. And when you're looking at the daily, you really just need to look at the quarterly. So I've just turned on the quarterly. We can flash on the monthly. So if we turn just on the quarterly levels, let's see if that can also help us predict where price is going. So if we turn that on, okay, now we've got a bit more information here. So we can see when you get this kind of pullback here, we can see that again, price respected our support trend line, also respected the 618. We can see also, look at this R3 quarterly. You can see, I love it. This is what I love about these pivots. You can see to the millimeter, price came down and hit the R3 quarterly, bounced up, came back, tested it, made almost, 3 tests over almost a week, broke that, moving up. So where's price going? We'll look at maybe one more thing after that. Price is definitely heading up, but you can see it broke above our -1, which is generated by our fib down there. And we now just stuck below the 1. We can also look at the MACD. That also helps us. What is the MACD saying? Well, there's a crossover. And I remember we like the crossover below 0. Whenever you have, for example, we're in an uptrend, a bullish crossover below 0, that's when you catch in the bottom of the move. So we like that kind of crossover. We've now got a crossover above 0. It still applies. So we've got a crossover bullish. We haven't got a lot of separation. It is getting tired. So where's price headed? Well, price is still headed up. If we, now with our new tool, if we change it to 3 times higher, so let's look at 3 time frames higher, which is 3 days. What's that going to tell us? Oh, that looks beautiful. Look at that. That shows us we're still pretty bullish. And just for Mark de Vries in the Netherlands, a little badge comes now to show you that you are. We'll do an update sometime. 3 time frames higher, bottom left. So you can see we are still very bullish. We almost had a crossover, but now lines running parallel. So where is price headed? I think we definitely still headed up. We got a break above this -1. Then the next target clearly will be this level. So price could pull back to the trend line, but we can see strong support, still looking bearish, bullish 3 time frames higher. So I would say price could pull back slightly, but we're definitely heading up. Let's just measure that measurement. We're on a daily, it's going to be quite high. Measuring tool is always not the best. There we go. So it could move another, 640 pips. So if I was looking at this chart, we're definitely bullish. Price is heading up. MACD still bullish. We got a slight little pullback here. Once we break above the -1, we headed to R4, and after that we get minus the 1, -1, 236. I just always call them 236s. So that's what I would look at. We could also have a look at if we just took it down to the 4 hour. Let's look at the 4-hour quickly, see what that's telling us. We can see we are in quite a big pullback on the 4-hour. Let's just take our MACD back to our normal settings. So the 4-hour is telling us it is pulling back. So looking at those candles, remember each one of these candles is 4 hours. It looks like we could well come back and retest our trend line before moving up. So if we turn on the indicator, let's just turn on the indicator, see what that's telling us. Let's have a look here. So we can see we did get a buy signal. Price lovely rejection of the trend line and also the 55. We'll leave that for now. But price is definitely pulling back. We can see we've broken this resistance trend line that's been generated by the indicator. Price is coming back. So we could see if we break our 21, it could be 55. So definitely price is pulling back, but we're still in an uptrend. So this is how I look at price. We could also, let's just see, we won't draw a 4-hour fib. Price pulling back, but definitely still heading up. So we could come back to our trend line and then probably high probability we're going to move back up again. Oops. Let me just correct that. Control Z. Put that back in the right place. So I'll just keep an eye on any questions. Tom, maybe you couldn't see any questions. You want to make any comments? This is what's happening.
No, I'm really enjoying this. I think no questions at the moment. I mean,
Okay.
in this case, like what I see right there is price sitting on top of what was resistance, now possibly support.
Oh, I forgot to draw those lines. Sorry.
No. I mean, they were there because you had the green, when you turn the indicator on, they were there.
Yeah.
And at the same time, this move that we just had, like we're probably sitting around about 50%, like the pull, from that low to the highest high.
Yeah.
Right now, we're probably sitting around 50%. If we came back down to that trend line, that'd be like a 786, 886 pullback. So,
well, let's do a little 4-hour fib.
Yeah, just from there, and you'll see.
Yep, you can see. Yeah, we're pulling back. That's quite well done, Ty. We're pulling back to the 50% there. So we've made a little W here.
Yeah.
So if it breaks through
there's
there,
reasons why in a bullish trend price could continue from that point. So the biggest thing is to not give yourself any bias like this has got to go down to this trend line. The price can do anything, but in terms of forecasting, it helps to know like, okay, if we break this level, the next one might be that 0618, then the trend line, etc. And then it's just a case of looking for a safe entry depending on which way you're going.
Yeah.
But loving it, really cool.
Yep.
Keep going.
Cool. Yeah, I left out one thing. Sorry, let me go back to the daily. Other things I drew when I'm forecasting, I do put in just key lines of resistance and support. So thank you, Ty. So clearly there was a high there. And we can see from that high. I mean, normally I would draw in that line, but well, let me put that in. Let me just clone that. So these are key levels. So I'll normally do those in blue. So sorry, I'm thinking too much.
That's all right. I normally, and also with those ones, like I will vary the thicknesses of my lines depending on what my lines are doing.
Yep.
Maybe they're 1, 2, 3, or 4 thickness. But if that's like an historic all-time high, huge support or resistance level, I'm making that thing like a 4 and a certain color. That's where personal taste comes into the stuff.
I mean, this is the all-time high. I normally do in this very bright color.
And I'll label it too.
Yeah, so I do this one super bright. So I won't miss that. That's the all-time high. So price is pulling back to this. So this is not my normal chart I trade off. This is just my generic zoom chart, so I can zoom chart. So that high there is proving to be support at the moment. So we can see multiple factors. Price is pulling back a bit, but definitely we're still in an uptrend. And of course, news events could change anything. All right, so how I'd be looking at the Dow. So let's just delete all those drawings. I'll quickly just delete them. What have I got? And then let's go to the NASDAQ next and see what's happening. So the NAS 100, I'll turn off the cameras for now. And let's follow the same pattern. So let's just hide that. So here we got the daily.
That I hate to do this. Can you go back to the the Dow for a second because I just saw a pattern that might
Sure.
be kind of key at that top zone. Something like in hindsight that would have paid attention to see. So yeah, so you see those two red lows in the middle of the that one and the other, no, and to the left of that,
Yep.
up higher, the one. So that run up in price where you're at right now, from there breaking up higher,
Yep.
that there gave us two lower lows to the right hand side. And if you drew that up as like a channel going backwards, it looks like we almost would have retested that on that bounce right now. So go, yeah, you're gonna have to draw that on the two lows. You can always drag it. Yeah, basically making those the low point of that channel, those two red lows, and you'll just have to line them up accordingly, and then drag it far right, further right, so that it goes into future price action. The far right hand corner of it. Just keep it in the same position, but just drag it further to the right. Extend it. I mean.
That like that.
Yeah. Keep going, and now drag the top half of it higher so that it includes that midpoint, that green point. To the yeah, there we go. It's lagging. Yeah, there. See that? Wait. Snap it to that left-hand side. Yeah, there we go. Look at that. So can you see how price broke out of that bull flag and just retested it?
Yeah. Wow. Very good, Ty.
So those are the so in hindsight you wouldn't have known almost that price was breaking that level or retesting it unless you drew a channel and utilizing those two lows that I just pointed out there. So if you start recognizing and seeing those flags, it gives you some levels that you've got no other way of really telling that they're there. But because it's those two lows that the channel printed on the bottom side, which gave us that trend line, which was broken on the top side and the retest.
That's amazing. Wow.
Those little things, eventually your eyes will just see that naturally, but you've got to spend some time drawing those channels yourself to just see them. But then that would be a break and a retest that you may have never seen before.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's because it's in bull mode. That's a bullish flag, and at the same time, anyway, I don't want to hijack you, but I just kind of thought
good, man. That. Keep chiming in.
Nuts for a week and a bit here, but my eyes are still working. So back to you.
Okay, let's look at the NAS. See what's happening there. So here's our NAS. So again, we firstly looking to just draw some trend lines to see what we can draw. So I'll normally just fiddle around. I mean, this one would already be invalid, so that would be no good there. That's been tested. I'd maybe look at then maybe starting from here to see, could we draw a valid line there? That's also been broken. So what I would do in this case, I'd probably start at a low here. That looks a bit better to me. Let's have a look. I like to touch a few points. So I would probably look at that for a support line. You see, it's not an exact science. There's a few ways. We could probably also get a channel out of this too. If we took a high here, and let's just see what we can do. If we can get that top, there we go. So I'd look at this as definitely a channel that's forming here. So we can see again with this, we definitely are in an uptrend. And again, we also, that's what I forgot the first time, we can just draw that's a high there. Oops, that's not, that was, so we got a high there. That's the all-time high. We'll leave that off for now. And we got some support too. We can also put in these support lines. We got that support line. That may be too far away. Let's just clone it. Yep, that's more relevant. We'll just delete that one for now. Which when you're doing forecasting, you don't need to make it as detailed as what you're trading off. We're just trying to look where price is going. So those would be some key lines. That's support line. I'm just going to put in blue. Use my normal colors. So we can see we also got this channel, price reset. There's been respect along this resistance channel. And plus we got some support too along the support channel. So also looking bullish. If we look at the MACD before we do a fib, the MACD is looking tired though. We can see we had two lots of divergence where we got, higher highs over lower highs. If we took this 3 times higher, it'll probably look a lot clearer. So if we just go change it 3 times high, gives us a bigger picture. Wow, look at that. Still, we just got a crossover 3 times higher, showing that this is definitely running out of steam. We can see this move up. So if I just compared the Dow and the NAS, the Dow, I would say, is looking a bit more bullish than the NAS right now. The NAS looks like it's losing steam and running out of oomph on its up move. We can see again the divergence showing. Let's just also do a fib. Is there a good place to draw a fib? Okay, we can also do a similar fib from this low to that high. Let's just see how that looks to get some key levels. So if we did it there, let's see what that looks like. You got to love fibs. Look at this. You can see amazing how accurate these fibs are. Look at this. Pull back to the 618 there. Pull back to the 50. Look at that support along the 786. Went through the -1. We can see, look here, the 236, massive support. And let's just see what else we can see. Look at that. It went to the millimeter. Not only did it hit our resistance trend line, it also hit the -618. So when you get like, that's why you get a big pullback. Whenever there's like double, look there, at this point, price hits our 50%, plus it also hit a trend line, big pullback. You can see it pulled back to the 236, this pullback to support line. So what is this telling us? We now got some support, the 382 here. It's come back, it's closed above, but it is looking tight. So I think we could see, when we get this kind of divergence on the 1 day, price may move sideways a bit. The Dow looked like it was going to come down with a bouncing up. To me, on this 1 day, I think we're going to probably get a bit rangy for a while. So we may get strong support from this 382. It may come up to the trend line, then make a decision whether it's going to break it or move up. But not looking as bullish. If we just also threw in the Camarillas here, the quarterly, let's see what's happening. We can see again, look at this. I love this here. So we can see strong resistance, the R4 quarterly. You can see 3 days it couldn't really close effectively above, and it's come down that's the R4, sorry, the R3 is way down here. That's out of play. Maybe we can also put in, it'll make it look a bit more busy. Let's put in our monthly levels of our, they also, look what that's showing us. We can see here too that there's a R1 monthly, price came down, rejected it. We can see, look, exactly, price couldn't close above the R2. So that shows there's not a lot of oomph. We're running, we can see the MACD is running out of momentum. So I expect the Dow to go slightly more sideways.
US 100 NAS?
Yeah, sorry, the NAS. Yeah, sorry, the NAS. I would say we're looking, what do you say, Ty? I think we're going to go sideways here a little bit. And then price will probably make a decision when it hits this trend line.
Yeah, and I haven't looked at the calendar for news events, but it's, between other things dropping too, like obviously Bitcoin's been dropping, there's a whole lot. And, these charts have been running all-time highs. So it's natural to get a bit of compression. I mean, if anything, that again, like it looks like it's compressing and going sideways, but eventually the longer the compression, like a spring, the greater the explosion. So at the moment, looking a bit sideways, but
yep. So I think we can see I've drawn this resistance trend line. I think, price is going to go around, then it's going to make a decision in 1, say 2, 3, 4, maybe 4 or 5 days time. Who knows? It's going to take a few days to work out where it's going to go. Any other comments there, Ty?
I can't see any. You just made me want to look at what's on the news calendar this week. It's early in the week, but there's
lots of news.
Is it FOMC this
week? Durable
week?
goods.
I mean, not FOMC, non-farm payroll.
Growth. I'm clicking them on here. That's coming up 29th. I've got my news too. I haven't got my news clicked on this feed. All right. So NVIDIA news, Joseph saying that'll affect the NAS. Cool. So if we move on, I think, Ty, that's probably covered everything there that I wanted to say. So a bit more rangy. Let me just delete those drawings and we can move on to the next one. But it's good to practice these, practice. Let me just didn't delete that one. And let me turn Camarillas. I'll turn the monthly off. And silence those. All right. So what are we going to look at next? Let's go to gold. Let's look at gold. What's happening with gold? All right, so let's make my screen a bit bigger. So if we look here, this is gold. We can see, one look tells you that it's pretty rangy right now. can see from the all-time high over there, I think that was the all-time high. We can see prices being very rangy with our daily chart. So we can definitely draw in a few lines here to figure out what's happening. Let's just see. We could probably draw that as a valid support line. And we can see from the all-time high, we're probably going to get, this is going to make a nice, I always like to get as many relevant, there we go. Let's just leave it there. So I always get these wrong, Ty. We call this a pennant, eh? I just do them without calling them names. So we definitely got
different shapes, different names.
But you can
go brush up on your reading of my PDF.
Yeah, I know you've got it nailed. I just draw them and they make sense to me, but I don't always know all the names. Maybe that's would be my homework. But we can see our price is definitely from that high. We can see a lot of compression taking place. So those are the two lines I would draw to work out where price is going. But definitely, obviously, we can see we're very much in range. If we just turn on the indicator for a second, you can just see how, when the 13 and the 21 are crossing a lot, you can see how many times they're crossing. And that's a sign of range. So the indicator tells us there's lots of range. So gold going in no particular direction. We can draw a few key levels here. We can draw probably a support level over here. I mean, that one is a little bit out of play for now. And then we'll just draw in a resistance. Just draw some key levels. So we're just trying to look at where price is going in the near future. So I'll just color that my normal color. So we can see that's a key level there, and let's do a fib. Okay, where are we going to draw our fib from? I think when there's a nice run like that, there's a great run there, we'll put a fib over here. From that level, see, that's going to help us. All right, so what is this telling us? Let's have a look. So again, your big pullback, I love it when you see the 618, that's always a key. So right now, there's been a lot of respect. We've come back to the 3. Look at the respect, the 382, massive for support. So price has rejected that level, moved up. Again, you can see where you hit two things. We've rejected a resistance trend line, and obviously that's a key level we've drawn. Price has come back, and it's resisted. There's been double. This is we call this a cluster where you've got a key level, plus you've got our resistance trend line. And price is struggling to break above our 236. Let's just take our MACD. Well, it's a very messy now because we're in range and a lot of crossovers, crossover. Let's just take it 3 times higher and see if that's going to help us tell us if we're more bullish or bearish. Wow, look at that. What is that telling us, Ty? Way back there. So we can see actually, looking 3 time frames higher, gold is looking more bearish than bullish right now. So again, this is a little bit like the NAS.
But still above zero,
yeah,
and compressing.
Yeah, so I mean, look, my gut feel is it's to the upwards. So we'd expect maybe a crossover. So this definitely is, we've hit the 236 and we've hit a resistance trend line. So this is a bit like the NAS. So I would expect, maybe a little bit more, some more days of sideways movement, especially based on our MACD. Let's just turn it back to current, take off the 3 times higher. Let's have a look. Let's just put in our pivots here, see if that's going to help us. Okay, so we look at that. That's interesting too. Look at this. We're right on a quarterly pivot. So this quarterly pivot, you can't see. You can see the label, but it's sitting exactly. It often happens when you draw charts exactly on the 236. So there's like double trouble. So if we look back, we can see, look at the respect here. We've got the 236 in a quarterly. We can see respect. And here we've got for 3 days, price on the daily hasn't managed to close above the R2 quarterly and our 236. So obviously that is very strong resistance. Let's just whack on the monthly to see if that's going to show us anything more. Our monthly levels. Okay, look at that too. Wow, that's interesting too. Look at this month. It's come up here and it's hit the R3 monthly. I love this. To the millimeter. So to the millimeter, hit there, didn't get there, try to break through. And so let's have a look. So I would expect this is strong. There's super, super strong. I'll just turn off the monthly, just clear the chart slightly. So we can see there is strong resistance right now. So 3 days, it couldn't close above, what's that, 3371. So we'll see, tomorrow where this candle closes. Maybe let's have a look at the 4 hour. That may tell us a bit more. So the 4 hour, the MACD, running a little bit parallel, running out of steam slowly. We got a little bit of divergence there. So yeah, we can see it's giving us a bit of support. Let's turn on the indicator. We're on the 4 hour. Let's see what's happening. Still looking on the 4 hour. Oh, we can see our indicator has drawn a trend line that goes way back to, when is that? 23rd of July, so exactly a month ago. So it looks like it's respecting this resistance trend line off our major one from the 1 day. So it could still push up, but stuck at this level. So Ty, any other things? Any other comments here? Let's just turn off. It's a bit noisy with the indicator.
No, I mean, I'll say one thing I'm thinking of a minute. Mark just talked about putting the resistance and support levels on the wicks with a question mark, and then my response, just I have it in here, was, and you can correct me, but I said the wick itself will often actually be the resistance or support level, the distance between the top or bottom of a wick and the body of a candle. And then his response was, so drawing a square might be more accurate, like in the scanner. Exactly. So Dad, you can probably comment on that. So your resistance and support levels that TrendForce prints are essentially usually that. They usually are overlapping a previous huge wick that is shown either a lot of buyers are in that zone, or if it's a support zone like there, that green zone we're looking at, and that red zone up top.
Yeah.
You can see how they basically have their origin point is that massive wick. And when price dips back into that river or touches back into those clouds, whatever, it gets more liquidity and bounces back the other way. So I don't know if you want to comment on any of that, but that's...
Yeah, I mean, the wicks, some people draw them off bodies, some of wicks. So, there's multiple ways. Like this one, you could also have, you could have had it coming. I try to find as many points like there's, obviously we started there. That's a clear point. That's broken through, but there's a clear point. So, it's not an exact science, Some could draw them higher. You could have, taken it off there. So I'm looking more for immediate. I'm trying to see where price is going in the next day or two. If we took it up there, okay, that may come into play in in a week's time. Who knows? So I'm looking just for the more current data. So
I actually really like what you did there, because even cutting through those wicks, like that's how you would have drawn that trend line before that zone right there. And here's the deal, guys. Everybody in the world can see this giant pattern, this pennant on the higher time frame, which is bullish. And then you got to think about, like, the markets are designed to move money from the inpatient to the patient. And that usually don't do the most obvious thing first, if that makes sense. You call it a fake out breakout. Like I look at these, this pattern, and I think it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if price first broke down slightly, like beneath that support trend line, to make everyone think, oh my gosh, we've broken down out of the pennant, and then suddenly it like just whips up. So the patterns exist, but they're also, because they're so common, you can often see them slightly violated, but by wicks, because on those higher time frames, they will look like wicks because price never closed on the other side of them. So that's why I like the way you've drawn that trend line. You've got like 3 touch points on it from its origin. So yeah, anyway, love it. Keep going.
Yep. Okay. So that's basically gold. So a bit like the NAS, I think we're going to go sideways for a few days. So it's going to be a bit rangy. Also, if you turn the indicator on, it'll look a bit noisy with all of this. But I just have a look at what's good with this indicator is look at all the hollow candles. Can you see? There are very few full color candles. So based on how I've done the coding for these candles, that means very rangy. So that's telling us right now, neither the buyers or the sellers are in control of gold, but it's just ranging up and down, going sideways. So that's what I'm predicting, gold going sideways for the next few days. So let's quickly, we still got time, we're doing well.
Also, while you're doing that, really cool to note those higher time frame white candles were saving you too. Like, I mean, those are firing on those daily candles, but they were still looking like they were in pretty good positions. And like, you know, just after you have the doji, or not a doji, but basically the top reversal candle, and then the next candle was pretty much a white candle. And this is a daily, so obviously they're going to be way more tight on the 4 hour, on the 1 hour, on whatever, but they're still, you know, doing what they should do. They look good.
Yeah. It works. They work on all time frames. I mean, look here, and this huge move up, there was a white candle, gave you some good warning. There's a white candle coming down on the 4 hour, there's a white. That would have warned you there. And yeah, too. So anyway, let's move on. Let's delete these, go back to the 1 day. We're going to look, we're doing well for time here. We're still all awake. Let's just get rid of those drawings. So hopefully you're getting the whole idea is that you can do this yourself. I mean, I'm sure most of you can do this already. If you've done a bit of experience, let's go now to our Nikkei. It's something that the JPN 225. Let's see what's happening here. So let's just close that. So here we go again. One look tells us we are in an uptrend on the daily of the Nikkei. So let's just see. I think these 2 wicks are not relevant, so we'll leave that one. We want to see if there's a channel.
It looks incredibly similar to the NAS.
Yeah, it does. Well, we can definitely, that's how I would draw that trend line. We've got some good touch points there, and we can probably get a channel out of this too. Let's just see what would be. Yep, I would leave that. We've broken above, but I would say that's still pretty relevant. So again, we are in an uptrend, but we obviously had this big pullback. We're in a big pullback at the moment. So the NAS we can see looking a bit tight too.
The other end.
Sorry, the MACD on the JPN 225, the MACD, multiple crossovers. That's a sign of range. So if we just put it on 2 days, put it on 3 times higher quickly, is that going to tell us a little bit more? Well, look at that. That's still showing. I like that. That's still showing.
That looks so good.
Wow, look at that. It looks beautiful. Look at that. Parallel. We love that. Parallel. And the histogram is still well above 0. Obviously, you know, we're moving in a channel, but I love it. This 3 times is a great revelation. 3 time frames higher. Still looking, you see it's opposite. Gold was the opposite. Gold had parallel channels going the other way around, looking very bearish, more bearish. But this is telling us that still in a good uptrend, just in a pullback. So we'll just put it back to our normal time frame, and let's get a fib. This is great. This is a great place for a fib here. Look here. This, when you get a low like that, a good run. Let's do a fib, and let's see. That's going to help us with some levels too. So what do we got? Look at this again. This is exactly the same as the NAS. Look at there. It's hit the 618, which is a very powerful level with a fib number, exactly to the 618. So we pull back. You can see why I always like the 236 when I'm doing a live trade. It's a huge support for pullback or resistance if you're in a sell, obviously. So again, we went up to the minus 236. Broke through, we broke below the 50. We hung around the 50 here a bit. And so what's price doing? Obviously, price is pulling back. Because the MACD is telling us, especially 3 times higher time frame, that we're more bullish, we don't know if will price break below the 382. So it may not get back to our support trend line, our channel here. Let's put on the Camarillas here and have a look. Okay, we've broken the quarterly. So you can see how accurate these Camarillas are. Look here, it's spent 1, 2, 3, 4 days. It's been hanging around. Couldn't break below this quarterly pivot. And then finally now it's broken through, heading down. But it's got this 382 that it's got to hit. Let's just also quickly flick on the monthly, if that's going to give us any more information. So monthly, I can see it rejected it right on the monthly, that doji, and it closed below. Okay, the next level is below there. We'll turn that off for now. What key levels are there? We can see again, I could put in the line here, but it's also exactly on, we can see we've got the 382 plus a previous high. So that's going to be, you got double support. So two things are telling me this pullback would have to break through both this pivot and this previous high if it's going to drop lower. And remember, the 3 times high is looking quite bullish. So trying to set the other key levels. So similar to the NAS. So let's have a look at the 4-hour, because who was it this afternoon? Someone who commented, sorry, my mind's gone blank. Was it, I think it was Wendy, eh? Wendy?
I think it was Wendy, yeah.
Wendy picked up this pattern on the 4-hour. A great head and shoulders pattern here. So we can look here. So Wendy picked up this head and shoulders. There's a shoulder, there's a head, there's a shoulder. And she asked me, you know, is price going to break below? And she said, do you look at the trend line or the chart pattern? And I said, when we did that training a while back, I said what validates a chart pattern is the break of a trend line and a signal. So I popped in that trend line. That was on my 4-hour chart. So at an interesting point, we have now on the 4-hour, we've closed below. So that validates this head and shoulders. So that means price is dropping. So now don't click sell on the Nikkei, but look, there's a good chance it could fall 245 pips back to this key level, you know, around about we were looking at, you know, 41,980, because it has broken that trend line and heading down. So if we look at our 4-hour MACD, we can see the histogram's gone bright. We had a crossover. That's bright. We've got some separation. Let's pop on the indicator. Look there, signal. What validates a break? What validates a pattern is breaking a trend line with a signal. So we did get a counter trend signal. And I mean, that could definitely hit. It's looking good for that take profit signal there. So again, that was a good exercise. I drew breaking the trend line. We got a signal. It is counter trend, remember, so it carries some risk. So that pullback could pull back a little further. Any other comments from you, Ty? We got time to maybe just look at Bitcoin before we turn.
No, I've got one. I saw a pattern there, which I'll talk about in a moment. But Mike just said, you know, you often talk about fib levels being important for 3 things: support, resistance, or reversal. Could you touch on that a little more? So obviously, any line on a chart can be support and resistance.
Yeah.
In terms of a reversal, I guess there's going to be other reasons for it to be a full-on reversal. But any level can basically create that type of thing. But I don't know if Mike's referring to something else that you said along those lines.
Yeah, I can't remember. I mean, it can indicate reversal. For example, I mean, let's just go back.
Excuse me. What I mean is you often say like, oh, it touched the 6.618 or the and then you also mentioned like, this is one of my favorite levels, and then you call out a number, and I'm like, okay, it's nice that it's your favorite number or you're in the favorite level,
yeah,
but why? And how can you support that with some examples? That's more like I'd like. It's nice when you say it's your favorite level. I'd like to see some examples and some practical application about that. Of that.
I'll give you 2 quick answers. So you said they can predict reversal. So, for example, the 618 is called the golden ratio. That is huge, I think, for reversal. So, you know, it can be huge. We don't know why. It's just how the maths of the algorithms work of all the big algo traders. But you can see we've hit the 618 here, and there's been quite a big move down. So this could signal a reversal. I mean, I don't think so, based on the fact that we are still very, very bullish. But if we weren't bullish, if price, you know, wasn't as bullish as what it was, maybe just a short move up, it did a 618, that could indicate a huge move down. So 618 is big. Then my other favorite one, I always say is the 236. The way I use it, I know I always say Ty trades a bit differently to me. He stays in trades longer, but if I'm in a trade and it's let's pretend this was the 1 minute. Okay, price has moved up, it started pulling back. I'll quickly draw a fib from the bottom to the first pullback. Then I like the 236. That's the number I refer to. This is the 236. It is huge for support in terms of a pullback to stay in a trade. So generally, if I'm in a trade, I draw a fib, I may move my stop loss up, and then I often go with the 236. So if price closes below the 236, I often take my money. Now, not every single time, but the majority of times, if this trade had closed below, I would have taken my money. But this case, we can see price never closed below the 236. So very often, when you're in a trade and there's a pullback, very often it only pulls back to the 236 and then it moves back up again. In this case, we can see this pull back to the 236 and then moved up again. So that is my favorite pullback fib number. I don't let it go all the way back to the 382 because often if you do that, you could be in minus. And I hate losing. So anyway, that's just me. Maybe it's one of the fears I've got to deal with. So does that answer the question, Mark, for the 236? That's the number I quote more than any other fib
absolutely.
Number.
And absolutely. And thank you very much for this insight. I know that, for instance, the 618 and the 50 is called the golden zone. But I'm trying to figure out in what kind of perspective I have to place that to see how I can take my money or try to predict some entries or something like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'd say,
but anyway, thank you.
I mean, one of the main reasons, the first reason I draw a fib in a live trade is to see should I take my money? Because if it breaks the 236, very often it's going to take you into negative. All right, we've got time for one more, Ty. So quickly.
Yeah, a couple of cool things there. So I remember, oh man, you did it. One of our in-person events, this is probably 18 months ago, because I went through a bunch of footage a while back, just looking for some cool footage of you. And I remember you were drawing on a whiteboard and you talked about the percentages the percentages where a move will pull back X percent. Like we were talking about, say, your 236, your 50%, your 78618. The amount of times price reverses off each level, the percentages of moves that reverse from this time. So that you're talking about, I think, re-entries and how much more risky it becomes to re-enter a move based on the amount of times. Anyway, there's a training somewhere I might dig up, or maybe Dad can redo for us. But you had a lot of data, like you had a lot of.
Yeah, I can't remember the figures offhand,
Yeah, but it was fascinating, and I'll never forget that the way you broke down that math based on pullbacks. And essentially why your style is to not trade through pullbacks and exit. Yeah. And that 236 and the 1.618, those are the only two levels I have on my extensions. So drawn in a different way, but my extension tool on my fib is, I don't know, page 54 probably in the fib in our system PDF. I wrote on there earlier, like Dad's fib settings. I wrote on the chat, page 53 of the system PDF. You can go and look at his exact settings. So you could copy all of these for your fib if you wanted to. Save that as Tim's fib settings. You could then copy mine as well. So you can rotate, you can have your own, but you could swap between ours. You don't have to have only one. And then, but the only extension levels I have are 1.618 and 236 in terms of extension. So that 236 level that you've got there, I'm still trying to gauge how anyway, we draw them backwards from each other, but they both work. But
you can almost draw a fib anywhere and it's going to work. It's amazing. The fib numbers are just incredibly accurate.
Yeah, it's going to give you something. You then just got to figure out what you personally get some mileage with and see its confluence for everything else, and not put all your eggs in one basket, basically. Yeah. But something cool, I mean, aside from the fibs right here, if you zoom out ever so slightly and extend that channel further left, because Mark was saying something on there about your trend lines being drawn and kind of ignoring the big dip. But yeah, just cut right through and do that, and then do the same with you could. I mean, you can get rid of the fib to make it cleaner. Just delete it for now, because that's not our main thing. But then just draw. There we go. You keep just drag it through your magnet. So look at that.
Yeah.
Like that. I had a feeling though that low point would line up with the high. So price dropped first to that first left-hand point that we have right now in that channel. then, you know, bounced, whatever. There's another reason why it bounced probably. But anyway, that gave us what I would call almost like an origin point. And so price dropped, bounced a little bit, cut all the way down. I don't know what that was. That might have been news events. It could be anything. And then price got inside of what is that channel we have right now. But you can see even that low trend line in that channel had a whole lot of bounces underneath it there, like, and further all of the, I mean, this is still a daily. So and then broke back into that channel zone, and then away we go. But it just fascinates me so much on how you can look for, like, you know, I draw those, you know, what Dad did originally with this channel, but I often go backwards and look to see, is there an origin point that lines up with this? Because then that also helps me in the future to think about drawing them from further back, but looking further forward, if that makes sense. The only way you'll end up seeing that, guys, is if you just spend time drawing trend lines, drawing parallel channels, like just spending hours and hours and hours on the charts, and then you start seeing it like without having to draw it. But there you can see that there was obviously that dip out below it there for whatever reason. That probably caused a whole lot of people to go short with a lot of big money. And then sure enough, they just got liquidated and price continued on its bullish uptrend. But yeah, it's just a really cool thing to get used to seeing and drawing, and in your own time, just getting mileage on the charts and looking for patterns and training your eyes to spot them.
What also is good, I like the way you use this tool, because it's amazing how the midline, this dashed line, is huge. Look how price is respected. There's a lot of price action around the midline, and now we've come back. And price has tipped this midline again. So there's a lot of support. This is showing a lot of support at this level right now.
Yeah, and that's why if I zoom right in, if I sync that across all my charts, and I see a random dashed line in the middle of my chart and nothing else, a couple times I've been like, what is this line? And then I have to zoom out and go, oh, it's the midpoint of a giant channel. So
let's go to the 5 minute and see what's happening. The 5 minute almost looks like it's horizontal. Look at this. On the 5 minute, it's come almost exactly to that level.
Yeah. Fascinating, eh? You'll see over and over and over again how price likes to, like, I don't know how many times I've seen it and just call it some weird number confluence, but like when gold hits $3,333 an ounce, I go and draw like a horizontal key level on that thing. It fascinates me how often price returns to that level. And it's the same, it's call it some midpoint inside of the range or whatever. But yeah, just time on the charts, guys. You'll start to spot these levels and spot key levels of horizontal support and resistance, but then also inside of these channels, which I find, fascinating. Mike just said they're very strong level for future resistance. Yeah, I mean, it can be either, right? Like if you start getting big, like this is how I treat these zones or any trend lines, is if I see major candles, by major I mean 4 hour daily and above, mostly 4 hour and a daily, closing significantly above or below these lines. Because you'll notice most of these have just been wicks. There's been a few candles there on that daily, and never on Heikin-Ashi. Like I'll look at both, but I will reference Heikin-Ashi on these higher time frames just to look for the reversal pattern, the doji, the bullish doji, bearish doji, bullish, or the other way around, the flat top doji, flat bottom, or whatever. But I just want to see what's going on with those candles both ways, and just see where those candle bodies closing like accurately to know. And then that then gives me a bit more of an indication of what might be going on. But yeah, it's just, in terms of that little breakout at the top right there, I mean, you can, that's
like a fake out, really.
Yeah, but I'm looking to see what kind of, divergence might have been present on lower time frames. And there's obviously there's a higher high there, obviously. But anyways, just time on the charts, guys. That's pretty much it.
Cool. Let's quickly look at Bitcoin and then we'll call it a night. So hope you're enjoying our little journey here. I think it's quite fun just examining the charts, working out where things are going. So Bitcoin. So let's look what's happening with Bitcoin. So I said my wife and I were looking to buy, but I said, no, we're talking around this point. I said, no, it's about pulling back. And fortunately, I was right. I thought she was right over there, but I was still convinced it was dropping lower. So let's have a look what's happening in Bitcoin. So can we draw any trend lines, channels? So, I mean, this will be an obvious starting point. Okay, we broke. I mean, we can put that one in there because we've broken that trend line. Let's just see from there. That's maybe not as relevant. Trying to see what else we can put in.
I was going to say use those top 2 points,
I know,
or
it's
try to
just what
see
I'm
where you can get a channel in there somewhere, and dragging it further back and see what's what.
Do you mean draw, use the channel tool? So
Oh, just looking for a channel, I guess. Like I
Yeah.
often like to just see.
I'm
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for at the moment.
yeah.
I mean, guys, think about it too. That origin point at the bottom left there, that's when it was 76,000. I mean, how many people wish they bought some then, right? Like, there's, yeah, and that you can see that the top part of that cuts further back as well, and then that midpoint starts to become quite relevant. Look at that.
See,
That recent high.
look at that. Look at this. Look at the support and resistance through the midpoint.
Yeah, and if you draw the channel further left, on the top side of it is resistance as well. Like you can see that through there.
Yeah.
You got the magnet tool on.
Should I turn it off?
I love it, but it's,
Yeah.
not usually. I definitely use it to snap to wicks here and there. But yeah, you can see that extended further left. Now we've broken lower.
Yep. So that's interesting now. This channel that we've had here has been broken. So if we can also, so obviously this is a key level of support here. We've also broken below. That's what I think I was telling my wife, that it's going to drop now. So let's have a look. And let's have a look. We're going down. We won't draw. We'll save time. The next level is quite far lower. Let's just clone this line here. Clone. So look at key level. If price is pulling back, how far it's going to pull back to. The next is we can do a fib. This is a great place for a fib from this low here. Let's take it all the way up to over there and see what's happening. So this is interesting now because we can see we've also made a double top. So there's a bit of an M pattern here. And so what validates a pattern is a break of a trend line. So in a sense, we've got this trend line here we've broken. And look, price came up and retested it again and is moving down. We can see we've got a bearish crossover here. Still, the MACD hasn't gone bright red yet on the 1 day. Let's just take it up 3 days and see what that shows us. So let's smooth it out for 3 days. You can see we had a crossover quite far back. I mean, this is amazing. Look, even with a bearish crossover 3 times higher, huge uptrend. I mean, that was massive, that move up, but still, it's showing we're still bearish and separating. So price is dropping. Where's it going to drop to? So let's have a look. So we've now broken the 0 and this previous low. We've broken a trend line. We're looking pretty bearish on the MACD. But if we popped on the indicator, we still remember in an uptrend. So what we're looking at, our 55's gone bright red. I mean, I would like to see this MACD go bright red. Then it's definitely going to fall more. But there's quite a bit of open space. Let's just have a look at the quarterly Camarillas. Look, there's a lot of free space here. Look here. All the way down to 104. Not sure if it's going to get that low. Let's put on that's the quarterlies, put on the monthlies. See if there's anything in the way. Oh, here we go. So there's a bit more. The monthlies are pretty key here. So we can see, respect to that monthly level, pivoted off the R2. It's sitting right now on S2. And then we got S3 and we got a quarterly. So there are things in the way. and we have been in this big uptrend, but breaking this channel, breaking a trend line. I think Bitcoin, we're looking to buy some more. I'm still not buying yet. I think we're still going to fall further. Let's just turn off those camerillas and just turn on the indicator. We haven't had any form of signal. I mean, that is a form of a signal, that crossover. We definitely got some seller momentum. We're below the POC, and you can see, look, the indicator's generated a trend line almost exactly where our channel is. We've broken a trend line. We've retested a trend line, and we've got separation on both our trend zone and the main indicator on the MACD. So it's looking it could be quite a big pullback. What are your comments before we close our night?
Yeah, I mean, looking at these higher time frames, it's had a huge run, and yeah, interesting. I haven't looked at it this closely for a few days. So what I will say is, if you can buy, like, I'm just talking long-term buying and holding here. If you can buy anything close to 100 or under 100, if you get under 100, you're buying it like generational wealth building opportunities, because it's not going to live there forever. I think, who was it? Vanguard and someone else recently, another huge fund, are all saying, $1 million a coin by 2030. And I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I have a lot of belief that it will. So long-term in terms of investing, if you guys want to learn more about it, if you don't know much about it, go watch, for starters, I think it's God Bless Bitcoin. There's a documentary on YouTube. It's a free one. It's a brilliant one. It's what I send to everyone is their first stop for just understanding it more. But it has got a lot of room to go in terms of upside for long term. But right now, in a healthy pullback, everything has to pull back.
Now we've got a strong sell signal too. So already that has dropped. It's hit TP1. Which is already 300 pips or 3,000, depends on how you measure it. But in terms of that's a 300 pip drop already. If it hits TP2, it's not that far away. That's 430 pips. That's quite a big fall. There is a slight, we can see we got a bit, we're losing a bit of momentum in the MACD, but still there's a lot of resistance here. So if it does pull back, there's going to be a lot of resistance. We also broke this previous support zone that's way back from 3rd of August.
We're really interesting to see what it bounces off, because there's a lot of demand for it. I mean, I follow the news with it pretty closely, but it all depends on how you're approaching this. Like, I hardly ever, I won't say I don't, I sometimes will take a day trade, like our traditional types of trades on the 1 minute chart on Bitcoin, but I've got a much bigger buy as much as you can and hold for as long as you can type of approach to it as an asset. Whenever I see these pullbacks, I'm just always on dad's case and my father-in-law, etc., to just buy more. Do whatever you can to get an amount that feels good for you and your portfolio and your risk tolerance or your diversification, however you want to hold it. I just call it a gift long term, to say the least. In terms of that right there, there's lots of reasons why it could come close to 100 from where you are right now. There's some space, but like Mark said, isn't there always something in the way? Yeah, if you go down a different time frame or put on a moving average, I guarantee there's always will be a line of some sort in the way. But knowing what we know about the ones that we do use on these time frames, there's some space for it to potentially. I mean, there's bullish divergence right there too, which is causing maybe this bounce already. Those lower lows in price and higher lows, it looks like in that MACD almost looks pretty damn close if you draw that out. So be very interesting to see where it goes from here. But otherwise just hold on for dear life. And very cool though, Dad. I'm glad you're applying this in terms of, because I get texts, I can't tell you all the time, from people say, hey, should I be buying? Usually when XRP runs very, very hot and high, that's when most people message me asking if they should be buying it. And you've got to think more about red days. I mean, I'm just segueing into this, but it's like, if you want to be adding to your portfolio, look for double % red days. So 10% pullbacks and beyond. Those are more likely. And Bitcoin, if you're new to this chart, in bull runs in the past, we've had 5+ pullbacks of 35%-ish, 30 to 40 something percent pullbacks, which are huge pullbacks. So even a 10% pullback it doesn't guarantee that you're buying the bottom, but at the same time, you've got to remove the the notion that you're ever going to be buying the perfect bottom of a pullback if you're getting in for holding long term. But yeah, trading, we get signals and we can follow the rules. So you can apply all of that in a wonderful way too. So love it, Dad. Very, very cool.
Okay, well, we'll probably call it a night then.
Yeah, pretty sure we covered all the questions that have been shown up. Vic is also commenting on a channel on Bitcoin on the daily chart with obviously that pullback. So yeah, very, very cool, guys. Loving it. Okay, well, I'll tell you what, Dad, if you can unshare, we'll wrap it up there.
Okay, I've just got to find it.
Figure out.
And we'll do live market analysis again on Friday morning, 5:30.
Yeah, there we go. Let me do this. Add you. Yeah, cool. So Friday morning analysis is still on. I'm going to still be here, but I will create the Zoom. Dad, you just stay signed in. You're already signed in as me, so just stay signed in. I'll create the Zoom for you and set it all up. But then you guys are good to go. And yeah, I haven't obviously been watching much of the charts, guys, having some special family time, seeing my gran, having some family. I did take one solid trade earlier last week when I first got here. I think it was at about 230 pips on gold. Nothing crazy because I was going on a lower lot size, like running off this little laptop instead of my screens. If you could see the setup right now, you would laugh so much. I am using the ironing board as a desk in this bedroom to just put the laptop on. But no, that's like, I'll put a photo in the chat. It's hilarious, but it's so worth it. Like just being able to jump on here with all of you and still be part of it. Just absolutely love that we all get to do this from all over the world. I mean, Mark, it looks like you're at work doing your thing. I can't say enough, guys. Like being able to trade and travel and live that life. It's like I'm not doing much trading right now, but that's because I don't necessarily have to. But you can, and that's the beauty of it. So I tested that in South Africa last year. I was doing about 10 weeks worth of travel from start to finish, and had my biggest win streak ever. And I was only using my phone. And I know other guys in here, Danny, you're on here too. Like he's pretty much only been using his phone, and that's not where you start, but it's where you can definitely get to. So my encouragement to you is you've got to get very familiar with the charts and know how everything moves. The bigger the screen, the better in my perspective, being able to see everything, but it's not a necessity. Don't let not having a big screen restrict you from the learning journey or feeling like you're behind. It definitely helps. I will always advocate for having a nice big screen to getting familiar for drawing things, and then leaving that if you're comfortable, and then having a setup on your phone where you can then be familiar with what's going on and still be able to enter with confidence and clarity with signals that meet the rules. So anyways, we will wrap it up there. Dad, thanks so much for that. There was so much gold in there. There were so many different things that you covered that were really, really cool. And thanks for tuning in live, and all of you watching this recording later. Lots of love to all of you. Friday morning analysis is on, so watch out for that Zoom link. And then next week, I'm not 100% sure as to what time we'll be doing this because it'll be our last night in the Gold Coast. And so we may or may not move it, but we'll see. We'll comment in the chat close to the time. Otherwise, we'll wrap it up there. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and lots of love to all of you. We'll see you soon. All right, guys. Be safe. Good night.